Hey guys, welcome back. All right, today we're going to talk about some dorky C-3PO costume stuff again, because yes, and it's really going to be kind of convoluted, and I apologize for that, but I was trying to figure out the best way to describe this. This is a response to a question on the C-3PO builder group, which was how do you attach the shoulders to the torso? Now this is kind of, I'm assuming it's the whole setup, the shoulder ring and the shoulder bell. It might just be the shoulder bell. I don't know exactly what the person asking was talking about, but they go together in such a way that I feel like I got to cover both. Now, I want to talk about the ways that I did it in the past versus the ways that I do it now, and then some of the ways I do it in the future. So, because of that, I broke out my original torso that I got years ago. I bought this one. And this torso is much more similar to the torsos you'd see on the protocol droids that turn up on like The Mandalorian and those shows, which is highly inaccurate, unfortunately. But when I got this suit, I didn't really, it's kind of the same thing. I didn't know how to attach the arms. I was trying to do different ways. At first, I used to, I'll tell you how it's attached now, and I'll go back because I think it makes more sense. Right now, there's a Velcro strap inside, like that. So there's like a piece of the hook side Velcro facing up, and then the loop facing down. And you always want to, if you're going to put Velcro in a costume, you always want to put the loop side facing the wearer because the loop side is softer. The hook side is always uncomfortable. So put the loop side up. That runs up like that and holds the shoulder on. Works great. This design, really reliable, simple, but when you move your arm forward, like if I rotate my arm like this just flops like this. And to me, that looks so bad. It looks horrible. And every time I'd see a photo when I was wearing this costume and my arm was a little cockeyed and the shoulder was like this, I couldn't stand it. I freaking hated it. And I just didn't want it. So on the newer suit, I made them so they rotate like the original movie suits did. This is how the movie suits worked. But back to this one. When I first started, I would put the suit on front to back. This kind of makes a difference how you do your shoulders. I used to put the suit on and put the front and the back on just together, and then the shoulders and the shoulder rings would go on afterwards, which worked, but it was really tricky to get the Velcro through after the suit is on. Like to get the shoulder rings on, you have to feed the Velcro through a little slot. And then you'd have to get the shoulder bells on. And that meant like getting the Velcro all the way through and pushing it up, which sounds easy, but when a person's arm is coming through here, then you have basically hardly any gap to get your finger in there and really get the Velcro on right. And the potential for it popping loose was higher. I eventually changed it so that it went together like the movie suits, where the left arm, the shoulder here is attached to the back of the suit, and the right arm is attached to the front of the suit. So when you take it apart, the shoulders come off with the suit. Now, this is a better design, but it can be trickier for a handler to put the thing on. Once I started doing that, I could leave this part of the shoulder on the suit. And then I would just have to be able to take these off for transportation. So it would have the Velcro. Let me see, I'll undo one here. You pull it like this, and then now their shoulder's off, and you can take the suit somewhere. Now, at some point, I redid these shoulder rings. I think they're on my Thingiverse. These suits, the shoulder ring was fiberglass initially, and it was really cheaply made with like a piece of cardboard on the inside. So they end up cracking over time. And when I had the fiberglass one, I cut a slot on either side, and ran the Velcro all the way through and glued it to the inside of the torso. But when I redid this, I basically made it so the Velcro was just hooked to the shoulder ring. And again, if you want to put this on, you put this through here like this. You gotta get it lined up, and then basically feed it through, make it snug, and hook the Velcro, and now it's on. Again, it's really sturdy, holds up well, never really slips off, never had a problem with it after I started doing it this way. I just hate this floppy crap. So, we move along to my newer suit. Now, I've been wearing this suit for maybe 7 years now, and all my newer versions are going to be related to this. I've done a few different versions of the shoulders for this one. The one that I wore all the way up until about just a little over a year ago kind of worked like this. Basically, let's take this apart. This would be the inner ring that goes up against the torso, like that. And then there's an outer ring. And this would have the shoulder bell already attached. I just have this one made here, experimenting with a new design. And on these, I did a video about this a long time ago. There are two little slots. Oh, sorry, turn it this way, up at the top. And then on the back of this, there are 3 tabs. You can see that there's a large tab and 2 small tabs. Now the 2 small tabs are actually at the bottom, but you hook the large tab into the slot, like so, and put it together. And when you turn it, now the top of it, once it's on there, this won't come apart. There's no way to take it apart, and it rotates pretty nice. This has been on my suit for a long time. My previous version, I didn't quite have the hinge worked out, so the shoulder bell was glued on. It didn't move up and down, but it would turn, and it looked great in photos and stuff. It was just not quite as mobile. So I was experimenting with this version, but this is about to get phased out and go back to this version with some upgrades. We'll go into that in a second. This version rotates like this one, but instead of just being those little tabs, I have actual bearings in here. And to attach that to the torso, so back to attaching it, there are, let me turn this over so I can open it, so you guys can see. Here we go. Okay, so this is the inside part. This is the part that's attached to the torso for this design. And on mine, you can barely see it, but there's these little holes here. And I made those so that you can get the small zip ties and feed them through, and you zip them up and they seat completely in the little slots here. And that's how they're held on. And this is the same thing where on the left side, the shoulder, this piece always stays on the back of the torso, and this side, it stays on the front. So when you put it on, you basically have to put it together and click it into place like this. So, you know, back, front, you kind of push it together, click it over. And this can be a problem. Some people, when you get a Wrangler that's trying to help you put the suit on, sometimes they don't quite grasp what that means. Like, you'll show them, they'll say, okay, cool. And then you go to do it and they are confused. So that's just the thing with putting the suit together like this. You got to walk people through it. But this again, held on by zip ties, and then the actual shoulder bell is attached to this separate piece. Now in this version, I don't know if I showed this yet, but it turns, but I wanted it to be able to lift. And I was designing a hinge for this, but I couldn't quite get it to work. So this does lift, and it holds in place with magnets. You can see the magnets on the inside, but you can probably notice I have Velcro tabbed on the inside. Now, the thing is, when I wear this, it never really lifts up and swings. When I turn my arm, it just rotates. But I put this here in case I have to lift my arm too high, it can move. Again, it's supposed to be a hinge, like the movie suits. At the movie suits, there's a tiny little hinge that sits in this little slot right here. And, oh wait, where's the slot? There it is. There's a little slot right there. And you can see I designed it for the hinge. Everything is spaced just like this is the same scale and everything is a movie suit. A little tiny tab, and there's a hinge that connects to another metal ring that would be like that connects to the shoulder belt. That is much better design if you have metal shoulder rings. Now, here's where we get into the weeds. There's a lot of confusing stuff on these, and I'm just going to ramble like crazy right now. I apologize. Now, when you get to the shoulders, the screen-used ones between the shoulder and the shoulder ring have these little metal rings. There's maybe 6 or 7 small, really, really flat, thin metal rings that are attached together. When you open up, they kind of like come apart like little bellows or something. I've seen these rings in person at the archives, and I've had people send me really, really good photos of them, and I've seen them open. So I understand how they go together. I'll probably eventually make a set. And then within those rings, there are little elastic bands, and you can see them really great in Empire Strikes Back. So the scenes when they're in the Millennium Falcon and 3PO is panicking, and he lifts his arms, look at the little rings. They all spread out, and there's little bands that are in between there. Now, when I saw them in the archives, those bands weren't there anymore. I don't know if they just wore out and broke, or whatever, but they weren't there. But I could see the holes for the bands in the little metal rings. Now, my assumption is that those bands are there to help take away some of the torque from the actual hinge, because if even with a metal hinge and all metal parts, there's so much leverage on this tiny little piece of metal that I think the hinge would probably get bent if he moved incorrectly. But the little rubber bands help keep the shoulder down and in place, and also help distribute the torque of moving the arm to help make sure that you don't bend the hinge, and it makes sure that the shoulders kind of stay together nice and, you know, move like they're supposed to. Anyway, that's way in the weeds, like I mentioned before. But my next version of this will have the little holes in the slots for the rubber bands, because I'm going to try those. But anyway, in my kit, as an emergency, I have another type of shoulder ring that matches these, same size, same connectors. I have the little things to put the zip ties through, like this one does. So this is held on by 4 zip ties per side, and you can see the little slots there. So when these go on, zip ties hook it to the front and back. That way they're on there. They're really, really strong, hold up great. But if I need to take them off, I can just snip them and take the shoulder off in about 2 seconds. And I carry some zip ties. I can swap it out. I do carry a version like this, and the ones in my kit are all finished, and they have a piece of Velcro hooked, just like the original old school one that I have, just in case for some reason something here breaks. I can always switch to one of these in a pinch. I've never had to use them, but I keep them in my kit. So anyway, that's my in-depth shoulder hookup guide. Sorry guys, I know it's in the weeds, and this is geared toward these people that are building these costumes so you can see the different versions. I have experimented since I started doing this, and I intend to experiment more with them. For example, the 83 droid that I did for Jedi Temple Challenge, very similar design. The actual width of the shoulders, the shoulder rings here, and everything are the exact same size as 3PO, identical. But I hooked all the shoulder ring parts to a harness that I wear underneath the torso. So when I put that suit on, the first thing that goes on the torso is it almost looks like a little vest. It's got a plastic piece here and a plastic piece here, and there's elastic that holds it together, and the shoulders are on those pieces already. And then the torso pops on the front and back together. It's got like a little hook, and it like shuts like this. And there's no hardware like on 3PO. There's, you know, if you've seen 3PO, if you're here and you don't know about this, there's screws. It's all held together by screws. Someone has to screw you into this costume. I didn't want that for Jedi Temple Challenge, so I made it so it just came apart real easy. But I couldn't get it to do that and keep the shoulders where they rotated. That was important for me. So I did this harness that went underneath. Now, I might actually do that again on my CZ3 droid when I make my finish my wearable version. I might make the shoulders like that, because I really liked how quickly the costume went together. It looked fine and everything moved. Anyway, it's just another option. I might even do it with a future 3PO. I don't know yet. But just keep in your head. Be creative.
Warning.
Oh.
Backyard. Camera.
Midnight.
Battery
Security
low.
alarm is going
Front
off.
door. Entry sensor open. Hallway.
That's how we know it's midnight. You can tell I'm not really making this video at midnight. Anyway, that was dorky enough. You guys, hopefully that was useful. If you have questions, put them in the comments below, and I'm going to post this to YouTube so that you guys can find it more easily. It won't be like buried in the comments on a Facebook user group video. So all my YouTube subscribers that are watching this are like, what the hell are you talking about? If you made it this far, congratulations, but I'm sorry. This is beyond this is my dorkiness level, so enjoy. Thanks kids, see you soon. Bye.